On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign.
Monday marks 20 years since the beginning of the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq. The war, which lasted until 2011, was launched to depose Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein and to confiscate weapons of mass destruction, weapons that were never found. More than 8,000 Americans lost their lives during the conflict, along with hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. CBS News chief foreign correspondent Charlie D'Agata covered the invasion and the war back in 2003. 2 decades later, he is back in Baghdad.
It began with a campaign of shock and awe, a display of overwhelming force and firepower. Within weeks, U.S. ground forces were closing in on the capital. When U.S. Marines pulled Saddam Hussein off his plinth in Baghdad, Iraqi crowds pounced. Around 6 weeks after it started, President George W. Bush announced the end of major combat operations.
Major combat operations in Iraq have ended. In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
Under the banner, mission accomplished. The mission was far from accomplished. A deadly insurgency was growing in strength and number. There were hopes the capture of Saddam Hussein in December that year might quell the violence, but the ferocity of the resistance only intensified. And toppling Saddam gave way to a brutal and bloody sectarian civil war. We covered the first democratic elections.
Were you afraid to come out?
Where Iraqis defied death threats to take part in the vote.
Susan, there are explosions to report. We've heard them all morning in Baghdad.
The war took a heavy toll. The death of hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, by some estimates, and nearly 4,500 American service members were killed before President Barack Obama pulled the last troops out of Iraq in 2011. They were soon back when ISIS rampaged across 40% of the country.
Just cleared this area a few days ago, and they say the entire thing is mined.
Defeated finally in Iraq in 2017. A country exhausted by the sheer bloodshed, sectarian violence began to subside and security improved.
20 years after the invasion, and most of Baghdad looks like this, no longer a war zone. Gone are the cement blast walls and barbed wires. The shops and cafes and marketplaces like this are open and they're busy. Residents here are hopeful, if not necessarily optimistic, for a peaceful future.
Like many young people, 20-year-old Nabaa Laith has high hopes.
The life here is very good.
But while Iraq's future may look bright, it also remains precarious.
That is the first time we've been able to walk freely around open markets for years. Now, there are still 2,500 U.S. forces here. Commanders say that's in order to keep ISIS in check. But many Iraqis say the real reason is to serve as a hedge against Iran. And not everyone here is happy about it. For CBS Saturday Morning, Charlie D'Agata, Baghdad.